I'm going to repeat myself. Topic 14, applications of system of linear equations. In these ones, we are creating two systems of linear equations, and you can solve with any method. Remember when we were solving applications of one linear equation, I told you the method of cubes. This is just a suggested method. You do not have to use it. But just to remember that cube stands for circle the important numbers, underline the question, box the key words, write the equation, and solve and answer with a sentence. The most important thing from cubes you need to remember is that since these are applications, our answer is going to be in a sentence, always. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. So number 1 says one number is 4 less than 11 times another. So this is going to give us our first equation. Then it says the sum of two numbers is 92. That's going to give us our second equation. What are the numbers? So since we don't know the numbers, we're going to have to give them variables. So what are the two variables you want to use? X and Y. So let's say X is the first number and Y is the second number. Okay? So now looking back at this equation, we have one number, so let's say this is X because it's the first one mentioned. Is means equal, 4 less than 11 times another. So first looking at this 11 times another tells us this is going to be 11, what? What other variable did we use? Y, because we're talking about two numbers in this equation. And then it says 4 less. So anytime you see 4 less than, or let's say 4 more than, that comes after that second part, so minus 4. Okay, so that means the first equation we have is X equals 11Y minus 4. How would this second equation look like? The sum of two numbers is 92. Good, X plus Y, because we don't know the numbers, so these are our numbers here. The sum of them is 92. So we have these two equations here. What method do you think is easiest to use knowing that we have these two equations? Substitution. Why is substitution the easiest in this way, this problem?
We could replace, like, for the second equation, we could replace X with 11Y minus 4.
Good. We already have a variable solved, so we're going to take that 11Y minus 4, so this right here, and we're going to plug it into this X value. So that means we have 11Y minus 4 plus Y is equal to 92. Now we have everything in terms of one variable, and that variable is Y. So now combining like terms, we have 12Y minus 4 is equal to 92. How would we solve for Y? Good, we would add the 4, so 12Y is equal to 96. And then what? Divided by 12, so we get Y is equal to, what's 96 divided by 12? 8. Okay. What would we do with that 8 in order to find X? Good, plug it into the first equation. So our first equation was X equals 11Y minus 4. Instead of Y, we found that it's 8. So X is equal to 11 times 8 minus 4. And then we just simplify. What's 11 times 8?
88.
And what's 88 minus 4? 84. So that means what are these two random numbers? 84 and 8. So what would my sentence look like?
The numbers are 84 and 8.
Good. The numbers are 8 and 84. That is our answer. The numbers are 8 and 84. So I need that sentence to get full points. If you just solve them and you don't answer the question, in this case the question are what are the numbers, then you won't get full credit. So here the hardest part is just setting up your two equations, because once we have it set up, you can choose any method you want to solve. You can use substitution, elimination, or any of the other ones. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says student A has $24 more than twice as much as student B. So that tells me my first equation. And usually that's how it works. We have one sentence showing us one equation and another sentence showing us another equation. Then it says together they have $150. So that is our second equation. The question is, how much money does each have? So we're going to have to assign a variable to student A and student B. What do you want those variables to be?
A and B.
A and B. So A is representing student A and B is representing student B. You could choose X and Y. It doesn't matter as long as you're telling me which ones you're using. So this says student A has. So how would we write that part of the equation? Student A has. A equals. And then we see 24 more than. Remember, if we see more than or less than, that's going to go where? Last. So 24 more than means what? Plus 24. Remember, it goes last, so I'm just going to leave a gap there. Twice as much as student B.
So it'll be 2 times B?
Correct. So our first equation is A equals 2B plus 24. What would our second equation be if it says together they have 150?
A plus B equals 150?
Correct. So since we have these two equations here, what method would be the easiest to use?
Substitution.
Substitution. What are we going to plug in? Good, we're going to plug in what for A though?
2B plus 24.
2B plus 24 into this A. So we have 2B plus 24 plus B equals 150. We need to combine like terms, so that would give us what? 3B plus 24 equals 150. What would be my next step? Good, subtract 24, so 3B is equal to 150 minus 24, which is 126. And then what's our last step?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3, so we get B is equal to 126 divided by 3, which is 42. Okay. Now that we found B, where are we going to plug it in to find A?
Into 2B plus 24.
Good. We could choose either one, okay? So if you choose the top, it'll be the same as if you choose the bottom. So let's choose the top. So A is equal to 2 times 42, because that's what we found for B, plus 24. Okay? What's 2 times 42? 84 plus 24. So that means A is what? 108. Okay? So it says how much money does each student have? So how much money does student A have? Good. And how much does student B have? So we would say student A has $108 and student B has $42. Again, this is my answer. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Let's look at number 3. Number 3 says Bill is the place kicker for his high school football team. Is there any good information in that? No, so I'm just going to cross that out. Last season, he kicked 38 times and never missed. Okay. Each field goal scored 3 points, and each point after touchdown scored 1 point for a total of 70 points. How many field goals and how many extra points did Bill kick last season? So what are our two variables here? What are the two things they're asking us in that question? Good. They're looking for the field goals. So let's go ahead and call that X. And the extra points, which is Y. So the first equation comes from this sentence. Last season, he kicked 38 times and never missed. So what would that equation look like? What would that equation look like? It's only giving us one number, right? It's only giving us that 38.
So it's going to be x plus y equals 38.
Yep, x plus y equals 38. Now we look at our next equation. Each field goal scores 3 points. Each point after touchdown scores 1 point for a total of 70 points. We already said that field goals is X and these extra points are Y. So knowing that, what is our second equation? Correct. 3x, because it's 3 points for a field goal, plus y, because it's 1 point for those extra points, equals 70. So now we have our two equations. And notice this time we do not have an equation that's already solved for one variable. So we can choose here if we're going to continue using substitution or if we're going to use elimination. Which method do you want to use?
So I'm reading it as 3 points per field goal plus 1 point for the touchdown
Yes.
equals to 70 points?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it's saying that extra points is, you're getting the extra points from the touchdown. Okay. So which method do you want to use, substitution or elimination? Elimination? Okay, so if we're using elimination, which one do you want to get rid of, X or Y?
Y.
Y, and how would we get rid of Y?
Multiply by -1.
Good, we can multiply this top equation by -1. So that tells us that we get -x minus y equals -38. And then I rewrite my second equation below so I can add it down. When I do that, -x plus 3x is what? 2x. What happens to the y's? Cancel. And what's -38 plus 70?
32.
32. Yeah, that sounds better. 32. 40. Okay. So then we divide by 2 and we get x is equal to what? 32 divided by 2 is 16. Where are we going to plug in that 16 to find y?
The first equation? No, the second equation.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So you can choose first or second. I'm just going to go ahead and choose the first one. So we had x plus y equals 38. So if I plug in 16 for x, I have 16 plus y equals 38. Which means all I have to do is subtract 16 and I get y is equal to what?
16. Oh, no.
Is it?
No.
16? No.
No, I read it.
So 38 minus 16, that's what we're looking at. 22. Okay, so to answer the question of how many field goals and how many extra points did Bill kick last season, what would our sentence be?
16 field goals and 22 touchdowns.
Yes, but I'm going to label it extra points just because that's how they label it in the question. You see it says how many extra points?
16 field goals and 22 extra points.
Yes. So Bill kicked 16 field goals and got 22 extra points. That is my answer. Okay. Let's look at number 6. Number 6 says stand A and stand B are selling fruit. Customers can buy small boxes of tangerines and large boxes of tangerines. Okay, so that right there is telling you what our variables are going to compare. So what do we want to label the small box of tangerines? Sure, we can label it X. So that means the large box of tangerines we're going to label Y. Okay, so we have our X and our Y. The first sentence after that says stand A sold 12 small boxes of tangerines and 6 large boxes of tangerines for a total of $330. So that's giving us our first equation. What would that equation be? Good, equals 330. Good. It's 12x because we said X is the small boxes and they're selling 12 small boxes, plus 6y because we said Y is the large boxes, for a total of $330. So what about the second equation? It says stand B sold 5 small boxes, 12 large boxes for a total of $318. So what does that equation look like? Correct. 5x plus 12y equals 318. Okay? So from here, what method do you want to use? Substitution or elimination? Elimination, and which variable is the easiest to get rid of? Good, the y's, because we would have to multiply the top equation by what? So not 2, because then if we add it, yep, so negative 2. Because we want a negative 12y to be added to a positive 12y. So that means we have negative 24x minus 12y is equal to negative 660. Bring down my other equation, and now I can add them down. So what's negative 24 plus 5? Negative 19x. My y's cancel. And what's negative 660 plus 318? Negative what? 342. So if I divide both sides by negative 19, I'm going to have x is equal to 18. Okay. What am I going to do with that 18 to find y? Good, plug it in. Which one do you want to plug it into? Because it doesn't matter. The bottom, okay, so 5 times 18 plus 12y is equal to 318. 5 times 18 is You guys chose the opposite one that I have on my.
90.
90 plus 12y is equal to 318. So then we do 318 minus 90. So we have 12y is equal to 228. We divide both sides by 12, and we get y is equal to 19. So what is our sentence here?
Small boxes are $18, large boxes are $19.
Correct. Small boxes cost $18 and large cost $19. That is our answer. Okay.
Would substitution have worked in this place as well?
Yes. You would just choose to solve for either x or y in either equation, and you could use substitution. You would have got the same answer.
Where did the -2 come from again?
The negative
Right
2.
from the
Oh, yes. So this negative 2, we chose this because we want to make these two cancel out.
Oh, okay.
So 6 times negative 2 gives us a negative 12. If we add to a positive 12, gives us 0. Okay, let's look at number 11. And there's a reason why I'm skipping around, just so you know. These may or may not be on the exam. Number 11 says the length of a rectangle is 5 more than twice the width. The perimeter is 130. What is the area? So for these type of problems, it's best to draw our diagram. And our diagram here is going to be that of a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. It says the length of a rectangle is 5 more than twice the width. What variable should we use here for length and width? L and W. Okay, so it says the length is, so length equals 5 more than twice the width. How would that look like in an equation? Where does that 5 more than go?
Plus 5 at the end,
Plus 5 at the end. And how would we write twice the width?
2W.
2W. So that means our length is represented as 2W plus 5. Does it mention anything about our width?
No.
No, so that's just going to be W. Then it says the perimeter is 130. How do we find the perimeter of a rectangle?
And you add the sides.
Add all the sides. So that means the other length is also 2W plus 5, and the other width is also width. So that means we're adding these 4 things. I want this all in terms of W. So am I going to write L equals 2W plus 5?
No,
Plus W plus, no, I'm just looking at the W part. So 2W plus 5, that's the first length, plus 2W plus 5, that's the second length, plus W plus W. Those are the 2 widths. So I have my first length, my second length, my width, and my other width. Okay? And we know that this is the formula for the perimeter, and we know that the perimeter is equal to
130.
130. So that means we have one equation all in terms of W. So what are we going to do first?
Combine like terms?
Combine like terms. So we have a 2W, a 2W, a W, and a W. How much is that total? 6. So we have 6W. And then we have a 5 and a 5, which is 10, equal to 130. So what's our first step to get W by itself?
Subtract 10.
Subtract 10, so I get 6W is equal to 120. And then I need to divide by the number in front of W. So what is W going to be equal to? What's 120 divided by 6? 20. This right here gives me my width. However, is that what the question is asking?
No.
The question is asking for the area. And what's the formula for the area of a rectangle?
Length times width.
So area is equal to length times width. We know width. How are we going to find length?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. So remember, we have length is equal to 2W plus 5. So instead of W, we're going to plug in 20. So length is equal to 2 times 20 plus 5. What's 2 times 20? 40. What's 40 plus 5?
45.
So length is equal to 45. So now that we have length and width, we can plug that into our area formula. So we have area is equal to length, which is 45, times width, which is 20. What's 45 times 20? 900. Okay, so what would our sentence be?
The area is 900.
The area is 900. Does it give us any units? No, so we always write units if it doesn't give us any units. And area is always going to be units squared. So if it doesn't tell us if it's inches, feet, whatever, we have to just write units. Units squared. And this is what I would be looking for because the question is asking for the area. So I should see the sentence saying the area is. If you stopped at width and length, then you wouldn't get full points.